Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so real sorry about what happened just now. If anyone was watching our previous stream, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Mostly is Wes's fault because he said all lives matter and we were canceled briefly. So, Wes, you're gonna have to apologize to the audience. Like, kneel on the ground and flaglant yourself. Flaglant? You know what? Those people that whip themselves.
Yeah. Self-flagellation is what it's called.
Flagellate yourself. Yeah, like where's the nine-tailed quip?
I'll go ahead and just Paul Bettany myself. Yeah, I'll do it.
Do it. Just
No, I deserve that. I don't know what I was thinking. Having a transgressional opinion.
Having the audacity to do something like that.
Transgressive opinion, not transgressional.
And now you're saying wrong words. Just
I'm all over the place. I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna end it now. Farewell, people. This is my last walk. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. I just kidding. But okay. Well, so like back to our topic, I guess. So Wes, we were talking about the vice president debate, and I think the last topic we were on was about how Kamala Harris was more or less like an opportunist, and Biden, even though he was legitimately, he was a follower. And the comparison I was making, like before we were so rudely canceled by the cancel culture people, was that he's a follower. He's sort of like an Igor character, like, I'll do anything you wish for me, master. But then he has intelligence, and he is a leader, and he can actually effectively help Trump lie. And he does this so well and so eloquent. He was very eloquent, but he was also lying through his teeth. And I'll be honest, so was sort of Camilla a little bit, like, you know, but Biden was blatantly doing that. Like the thing is, well, I'll do some specific, as in like just the virus. The virus works, and then Kamala's like, no, it's not. It's like, well, you're undermining American people's hard effort and work. I was like, she's not undermining the American people. Like the American people did pretty okay. She's undermining like you guys who were in charge of this whole shebang, and you did that. So that's like my whole opinion on like those two people. In terms of the debate, though, like I don't know if you had to say one of the two won, who would you say won? If gun to your head, you have to choose one.
That's honestly really tough because I was very much I actually audibly like screamed and groaned out loud during the debate when I watched it this afternoon in preparation for this. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this anymore. So I guess I mean, I really, gun to my head, I'd have to say probably Kamala Harris won.
It's tough, isn't it?
Probably, because she was a little bit more factual. She stayed on topic more often than Pence did, which was good. That was one thing. Both of them had a hard time staying on topic, I gotta say. But I think Pence was a little bit worse. And of the two of them, I think she was the most cordial and the most professional out there. She had her moments of, man, I really wish she wouldn't talk right now. But I think I would say Kamala Harris. What do you think? Who do you, in your mind, who do you think won?
Very hard call. So let me qualify this real quick. So number one, in terms of just like without knowing any facts, if I just look at this debate, I would almost say like Biden might have edged out a little bit. And the reason I say that is that when not Biden. Sorry, like Pence would almost like edge out a little bit.
You've had that happen to you a couple of times during this. It's kind of funny.
Sorry, they look similar with their silver white hair and their like old man demeanor, but
old white men look alike.
Right, exactly. I don't know what anyone's talking about.
Unless they're Trump.
It's like, exactly. Unless you're orange. But yeah, so basically, like, Mike Pence, when he was off topic, he did it, like, sort of like, I'm just gonna go off topic. Like, thank you for your question, but fuck your question. I'm gonna talk about my thing. It was purposeful. But when Kamala Harris went off topic, it was almost like she didn't know what the question was. She was like, well, I'm gonna answer your question, I'm gonna start to answer it, and then let's go off and do something else completely. And then like I sort of thought like it's almost more of a baller move for Pence to just like say no, but still be like very respectful for it. But like, okay, so the only reason I would agree with you that Kamala Harris won is because of the fact that her cars were better. Like the cars dealt to her were a lot better. And Pence is over here with 200,000 deaths, with 70 million Americans impacted by the virus, with 40,000 job loss, and then a bunch of other things. And also he's like anti-science, which I'm surprised Kamala Harris didn't touch on. Like, she very briefly mentioned it, but that's huge. Like, Pence, he messed up, like, with the AIDS virus, like, situation. Like, he couldn't handle the AIDS virus. But I don't know. There were a couple of good points. I thought Pence actually had a very huge, great argument, and I think it might be the best argument in the whole debate. Is that when he was attacked about the coronavirus, he said something along the lines of, "Well, yeah, we did this, but I don't think it would have been better under your situation, because guess what? When the swine flu attacked, swine flu hit America, it infected 6 billion? No. 60 million people. 60 million people. 60 million Americans got impacted by that. So now COVID attacked 70 million Americans. But the death rate is so different because swine flu wasn't that deadly and COVID was. And when he brought that up, I was like, oh shit, like, Kamala Harris, what are you going to do? And she kind of just like ignored the question.
Yeah, no, I do remember that moment. That was actually a pretty well done on Pence's part, I do admit. Right. Honestly, I think unlike the presidential debate, again for comparison, I think for the most part, both of them had their own like pretty good moments, and that was definitely one of Pence's better moments in this debate. But I do want to bring that. I do want to talk about that a little bit more, because you mentioned how Pence decided he kind of like took control of the debate at multiple points, and he was prompted a new question. He was like, "No, I'm actually going to use some of my time, or I'm just going to say fuck your question and talk and respond again to Kamala Harris's earlier stuff about what insert topic here." That happened several times,
a lot of times.
With that in mind, I want to ask you: do you think the moderator Susan Page of USA Today did a good job moderating the debate?
Poor Susan Page. Let's all just like take a second to appreciate the fact that she had to go through that shit. Like, granted, like, she probably had an easier time than what was the first guy's name? Chris Warren.
Chris Wallace,
Chris Wallace, my bad. Like, granted, she probably had an easier time than Chris Wallace, but still, though, like, when Pence thanked her for asking a question, and then immediately, like, just fucked up and, like, answered something else completely, I couldn't keep it, I was live translating the whole thing, I couldn't keep a straight face, I literally busted out laughing for, like, half a second before continuing on, and I was like, what a baller move. Like, just how do you walk with balls that big? Like, holy shit. But I think she did a better job than Wallace for sure, because number one thing is Wallace very openly showed his bias for Biden, and she did a lot better at it. I think she was still on the side of Kamala Harris, and that makes sense because they're both sort of women in a sort of male dominated jobs, like media and then politics. And then I think she might have leaned towards it a little bit, but it was very less obvious. I didn't feel that she was trying to help out Kamala Harris, but she was doing her best under the circumstances. Like, what do you think?
I actually completely disagree.
No? Oh, really? All right.
I think with this particular debate, again, in comparison to the presidential debate, I think there was opportunity to make this a lot more civil and to take control of this debate a lot more from a moderator standpoint. And I don't think she did a very good job at all. At one point she finally put her foot down with Pence's constant ramblings on and trailing off after his 2 minutes. But she only did that once, and it continued after she did that. She did not do a very good job of handling either of them, because both of them had that happen. Pence did a lot more, I will say. But both of them rambled on well past their 2 minutes, and she didn't really do anything to stop it other than just to say, "Thank you, Senator Harris. Thank you, Senator Harris. Thank you, Senator Harris. Or, thank you, Vice President. Thank you, Vice President. Thank you, Vice President." Like, she's just like, "Hey, remember I'm here," but she doesn't actually do anything. She didn't actually do anything to stop that. And in my mind, also, I understand that with the amount that Pence rambled on, probably should suffer some penalties in terms of like the time he gets to answer the question. However, she didn't state that for some of them, and I actually did clock her at a couple of points. And she definitely didn't give Pence the same 2 minutes that she gave Harris for the same question. She frequently, on a couple of occasions, only gave Pence maybe a minute for a couple of these questions.
So it was like less than a minute.
Like a minute and like 15 for some of them.
So nowhere close.
Nowhere close to 2 minutes, which I thought was really unfair. And despite his behavior, the fact that he rambled on is more her fault than it is. Pence shouldn't have done it, but as a moderator, you kind of have to moderate and keep control of that. and I don't think she did a very good job on putting her foot down.
Right. Like, it's not completely Pence's fault. Like, she also takes some of the blame.
No, yeah. Like, I mean, Pence shouldn't do that, but he's going to do that, and so was Kamala Harris, because that's the way these debates work.
Yeah, yeah.
It falls to the moderator to be like, hey, fuck you guys. I'm in charge here, and not just be like, hey, please, Mr. Vice President, please just let me get to the next question. You got to put your foot down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think that she did that very well at all. So that's my take.
Right, and I understand that. The only reason I didn't bring that up was, number one, I felt a little sorry for her, because when she was like, thank you, President, thank you, like, nobody really listened to her. I think, like, my take on why she did not stop them was that she just sort of gave up. Like, she tried talking over both of them in turn, and they just rode over her. Like, I really thought Pence, like, being the nice, like, persona that he is, would have stopped after she's like, thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you. Let's move on, Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I thought he would be like, I'm sorry. But he was like, nope. Fuck you. No.
Yeah,
and then
steamrolling.
Steamrolled her, and she let him. So in terms of strength, I don't think she was there at all. I think she tried to do the right thing, but like you need somebody strong to ring in these two unruly. I think she was very polite with it, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it didn't work. Yeah.
And it worked. It didn't work so often that I'm going to have it stuck in my head for the next year. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Because she just said that. I think I counted like 12 times once she said that in the span of like less than a minute, and I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Please just do something else. Obviously, this isn't working. That's more the thing, and she was very polite about it, and I respect her for that, and I do feel bad for her for being in that position. But at the same time, like, what she was doing was not working, and she needed to put her foot down. So that's my opinion about it. Also, I feel like that whole debate was bad for my mental health, and I wanted her to stop it, and it didn't work. So she's responsible for taking years off my life at this point. So
it's frustrating watching that whole thing. Yeah, like she should rein it in. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I rambled on for a while. You go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was about to give everybody like a piece of information. So basically, originally I was already looking forward to next week when the presidential debate starts up again. But so we got some recent news. Is that so Biden, because he knew that Trump had coronavirus, he's like, yeah, I'm not coming. Like, I'm not going in the same room as that mofo, and I get that. But then Trump, on the other hand, is like, okay, you guys want a virtual debate, so that's not happening. So no. So now we're in a situation where like Biden might just have a forum by himself, and there's not going to be any debate next week for the presidential election. And I was honestly very disappointed because number one, I translate those and I depend those on views. But number two, it's just like, it's sort of childish. But number three, I also know why he refuses. Is because Pence and Trump, they both rely on rambling and interrupting to sort of make their point and to like throw the other person off. But if Trump goes like live debate and he's on a television screen, Chris Wallace can just press that mute button and he would be like,
yeah.
And it would be like awkward as hell.
Effectively,
and very effective. So of course you're gonna say no to that. Trump's gonna look like an idiot, like miming words while his voice is cut off. You might just like quit out, just like, yeah, fuck this shit. Bam, I'm just backing out. Peace out, presidential, fuck you. And then he just pieces out.
Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen next week, man. If it's a
forum, I think that's an interesting conversation to have for sure. Because, and if there's ever a sign that obviously these people aren't for the American people, it's that situation right there.
I can't interrupt people.
Neither of them are willing to compromise on even how the debate is going to happen.
Right.
It's like, ridiculous. That's insane. Mm-hmm. Like, fuck that. Like, how are we going to expect you to compromise and fight for something that we actually want and fight for our rights?
Right.
If you won't even compromise on where the debate or how the debate is going to happen.
Right. And that's
like,
that's a
holy shit. People wonder why I'm like super anti-big government. And this is why.
Right. Here's the thing. Like, the only thing bad about government is, I think, people's inherent selfish nature. I think, like, no matter what governments, like, now that my job is to watch the news and report the news, and I have to watch these guys, like, every day, like, everything they do I have to watch. And I just realized these people are like different versions of everyday guys. They're watching out for themselves, but they're doing it and they're faking the fact that they're actually doing it for the people. And some people believe them, and that's a shame of it all. I think if people were more aware of the fact that every single politician out there, no matter how nice you get, like even Bernie Sanders, like I believe at some level he's in it, like he has his own agenda and he wants to improve his own shit. Yeah, and that's number one. Yeah, so.
The only way people, I think South Park says this in the fucking, one of their earlier episodes about voting. It's the douche.
Douche
what is it?
versus turd sandwich.
The giant douche versus turd sandwich, right? Yeah, that's it. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like with our current system, the only people who are going to get to the point where they can potentially be elected president, at least with the Democrats and Republican side, are the people who have sucked so much ass and played the system to such a degree that they can get to that point to where even if they had pure intentions to begin with, those are so corrupt and so far gone at this point that it doesn't even matter.
Right.
And so as a rule, and this is why during this all these discussions about all these people, I've just been like, I don't like any of these people.
Yeah.
It's for that reason.
And that's a shame.
Because I know that they're all shitty people.
Yeah.
And regardless of their intentions, their original maybe pure intentions. I don't doubt that they might have had pure intentions when they were younger and when they were starting out.
Right.
But they're too far gone at this point. That's just how our system works.
Exactly. And like one thing I will say for Trump is that like he doesn't bother to hide the fact that he's a like selfish piece of shit.
Yeah.
But like other people, like especially some of the prominent Democrats, like they hide it. They pretend that they're doing it for the people, but they're not.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people on like Republicans, they do the same thing. But Trump is like the one person who's like, I'm a pretty shitty person. Like I pay some $150 a year for taxes. Like deal with it.
I think with the I think you're right. I think that's why people love Trump and that's why people hate Trump.
Yep.
People hate Trump because of how obvious it is that he is the way that he is.
Yep.
And people love him for that because of how honest he is about that aspect. He's not honest. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. He's not honest.
He's just he's honest
in that aspect, in that aspect of being a lying politician. He's really good at subverting that kind of trope, that kind of archetype, you know.
He's an idiot,
and that's why a lot of people love him.
Yeah,
and but it makes him easy to hate too because everything wrong with him is extremely obvious.
Exactly.
He's with everybody else, it's not as obvious.
Yeah, exactly. He's a very charismatic idiot. He's got more charisma than all the smart people, but he's really dumb. Yeah. He has more charisma than all of them you put together, and that's what makes him so dangerous. Is that charisma it pulls people to you, even though you're stupid and you don't have the faintest idea of how to run a government. Like I get it, he runs a corporation. But we've seen from his tax forms, he doesn't know how to run corporations, dude. He's in so much debt. Like, I don't know what he's still doing, like, outside of jail. Like, how is this possible, man?
He's not a true capitalist. He's a crony capitalist, and that's a discussion for another time. But yeah, it's very much the same sort of thing. He has this demeanor about him. But it's by no means 100% a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's just fun to watch.
We did trail off a little bit, but I kind of want to get us a little bit back on track here. So I do want to talk a little bit about one of the questions. I don't want to get too into like each specific question, but there is one I do want to talk about.
We talked about it in the interrupted?
Yeah. You get 2 minutes uninterrupted. Unless you feel like rambling on, we'll just be like, please X, X, thanks X,
I'll
thanks
steamroll
X,
you.
thanks
I'll
X.
steamroll you.
Yeah, exactly. We steamroll each other all the time. That's the nature of the show.
Hell yeah! It's presidential. It's vice presidential at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoo boy. Anyway, so this subject came up a lot during the debate with during this debate and also the Trump and Biden debate. But it was concerning the Trump administration's response to the coronavirus pandemic. And you kind of answered this question already, but I want to have like a more of a discussion about it. And that is, do you think we are currently in the best case scenario regarding the coronavirus pandemic, or do you think that we could have done better?
Well,
and any thoughts you may have on that?
Right. Well, here's the thing. The word better could mean a variety of things, right? But in terms of the basic bare bones statistics, how many people died, how many people got impacted by the virus, I don't see any way America could have gone different, because if you wanted America to be better, you're gonna have to change the basics of American culture. And America is a country of individuals. Like China and like countries with one party rule all, like they're a collective. They're like almost like a monolith. The government says something, they can't say no. But in America, when you say wear masks, stay home, like protect yourself, everyone's like, no, fuck you, like you're trying to control me, like you're trying to brainwash me or some shit. It's too much individualism out there, and there's gonna be people who mess that up. So I don't think there's any single way you could have like controlled Americans to the point where they can effectively like say there's this virus. We, for God's sake, we have anti-vaxxers in this country, like, and they're a massive movement with a lot of people. So I don't think like with anybody leading the presidency, I don't think they could have controlled the individual Americans like in such a way, because America was founded on the fact that you rebelled against the big guy. Like, so I don't think we're gonna be better, but the one way that we could have been better is that the leadership could have given us more confidence. We could have felt better as we were actually wafting through like just rivers of shit, parking miles of shit, like 6 football fields, crowd out to the other side, came out clean.
Well, I think you're right about we are kind of like in terms of statistics in the best case scenario. But
only case scenario. I think we're the only case scenario possible.
The only scenario possible. Yeah, you're right. But I do think I think you're also you're right. I don't really have anything under that. You're just right. You're glorious. You are correct.
Bow down to me.
No, I think the only thing that really was missing, like you said, was just effective communication from the leadership, and actual leadership involving like, hey, this thing's deadly.
Right.
We have to be safe with this. I don't think Trump has been very forthright in how deadly this thing is, and how contagious this thing is, and I think that's really affected the numbers.
Right.
So in terms of that, I think he could have done better, and that could have reduced the numbers quite a lot, just because there's a lot of people who take his word as gospel.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't think the numbers would be all that much better, even if that was the case, because of what you said. I think there are a lot of people who are just like, because just because you say I should do something, I'm going to not do it.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the American way, and I believe that to a certain extent, but
I like it. I'll be honest, I like it.
Well, no. But I mean, but there, coming from being an American citizen point of view, I've expressed my reasons, and I think I have very good reasons for distrusting the government. Yeah. I don't have any good reason to not wear a mask other than fuck you, I'm not wearing a mask.
Exactly.
But if there's scientists and there's multiple organizations saying, hey, this isn't the best solution, but it can really help in curbing the numbers for this virus and curbing getting infected. Right. So do that. Right. Wear the mask. I'd be like, that makes sense. It's just a mask. Right. It's not the end of the world. I'll wear the mask.
It's a test of character, right?
Yeah.
Because what they said wasn't, this mask is going to protect you. It's saying this mask is going to protect the people around you. And then it becomes, are you a selfish person or are you not a selfish person? And a lot of people went, I'm going to be selfish. And God bless America for letting people do that. But like in this case, it just, we see the result. And it's in body bags. So
yeah. I think and I get the slippery slope idea that like, well, first it's masks, then it's arresting people on the street for no reason, and then it's concentration camps, and then all of a sudden all the Jews are being persecuted, or in this case it would be the Muslims and Mexicans, but no, and I get that slippery slope tendency, but for this sort of thing, during a public health thing, things should be different for a pandemic.
Exactly.
And I don't think that kind of thing is, I don't know, it's hard to say, because this is kind of like an unprecedented time.
Right. Well, here's the thing, actually, so one of my favorite films of all time is V for Vendetta. Like, I'm sure you've seen that, right?
Yeah.
You're a very you're a huge film buff.
The first time I watched that movie was with you,
Oh, yeah, that's right. I showed you that movie because I'm in love with that movie. But, if you remember the like, I've seen it so many times, like, so the basic plot of it was that the main bad guy, Chancellor Sutler, he came into power when England was impacted by a huge virus, and he was the one who provided the cure. And through that, he used people's fears, and they made him Chancellor, like somebody who controlled everything, all the cars, to stop all the fear. And I was like, dude, is this America? Like, is this happening to us right now? Like, because Trump is holding the vaccine, like, and we're all
the movie especially does not make any apologies in saying that America is very similar to this.
Yeah.
They talk about America being like in ruins throughout that movie constantly. In the comic, apparently it's quite different. So let's be clear, we're talking about the movie here. Not the graphic novel. But no, I see what you mean. Although I do have to point out one extra detail that you might have left out.
Right.
In that movie, the reason that they needed the vaccine for the virus is because they actually created the virus.
Right. Yeah.
So.
I don't want to get all. I don't want to get all.
Here's the
like...
thing: is that I don't think the Trump administration is capable of something like that. And if they are, then why the fuck would they choose to handle it this way if that was the case? And same for the Democrats. I don't think anybody's like coordinated. My feeling on conspiracy theories that they just basically don't exist. Like the theories exist, but the actual conspiracies don't.
Right.
And I think something like that is very far fetched.
It's fun to think about. Like it's very fun. It's
fun to think about in a morbid sort of way. But
But like one like funny thing, right, between the movie and real life is that in the movie the virus kills 100,000 people in England, and in real life we've passed that like by 100%.
That's true. Yeah.
We're 200% that, and we're still going. So, like, in a dystopian future, they're still better off than we are right now. Like, where's V, for God's sakes? Like,
strength through unity, unity through faith. I'm a God-fearing Englishman, and I'm goddamn proud of it.
Like, here's the thing. We're living in a dystopia England, but we're missing Chancellor Sutler. We don't have somebody who could just grab people by the balls, and I almost wish that we did, so we don't have to sit through this shit show. I don't mean that, but like, you know what I mean?
That's kind of the thing with movie narratives, too, is that there's that singular evil with Chancellor Sutler in the comic Chancellor Susan. And they changed the name. Yeah, they changed his name.
Gender.
His last name. No, his last name is Susan.
Oh, okay.
In movies, it's a lot easier to see the evil guy, and I think that's a lot of reasons why people are so. It's easy for people to divide party lines like that, is because Americans, especially with Americans being basically the dominant force of media in the world.
Yeah, and everything else.
And a lot of other things, but especially pop culture media, is that it's easy to assume that a lot of the movie conflicts, whether you realize it or not, are the same as real life conflicts. So it's easier to see your party as the angelic good guys and the other party as the evildoers. And I think that's a big part of it. And that's just not how real life works. It's complicated.
Yeah, it's just I never thought I would wish for like us to have like the same future as V for Vendetta. Like, if only 100,000 people died.
Because we have a V, we have an altruistic V. Yeah,
exactly. And now we're not even gonna have V because like it's not shitty enough. Like we just had the death and nothing happened. It's just.
And that's another difference with the comic and with the graphic novel and the movie is that in the graphic novel. V is a lot more of a gray character, and he's kind of he's a really bad person. He's much more of an anarchist than he is like a political idealist. He's much more violent. He's much more evil. He's much more forthright about being evil. There's almost no sympathy conveyed for this person. But in the movie, they make him much more of a sympathetic character, and he's more like, I'm doing this for people instead of just I'm doing this for revenge and for myself.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Actually, on further viewings, I've actually always considered V as like on the movie V as somebody who was just like in it for themselves. Like in the beginning, I was like, he's doing this for the people, but like after like I watched like on the 10th time, was like he's really just doing it for himself because like he's doing a lot of things that are just disturbing like everyday life and like what he did, like the scene where the little girl dies, right? I was like, V, that's on you, man. Like I know you're doing it. Like maybe people be free, but at a certain point, I bet you in a dystopian society. There were people who are happily living like everyday lives, and that's their subject. So no matter what, you're changing society for your own thoughts and benefits. Because like I'll be honest, dystopias like that eventually they fall. Like the one thing about dictatorship is that they don't last, and like it'll change. But V through his own reasons, like made things crappy for everybody.
Yeah.
But you're right though. The movie does make him to be very sympathetic, and I really want to read the comic now because like you made it sound really.
No, it's something I do want to. It's the same guy who wrote Watchmen and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and a bunch of other really good stuff. Alan Moore has got he's an insane person. He worships a snake. He's a very insane person in real life, but
God bless him.
he's a crazy people write the best fiction. I'm telling you.
Exactly. Like seriously, like I think some of the history's worst like serial killers, if they choose to be artists, I think they would have done like really great. Like
it's probably true.
Yeah, they would have done really well.
Stanley Kubrick is not a serial killer because he was just a great director, but he was kind of an insane piece of shit in real life. So
exactly, it's just just the paths people take, right?
Talking to V for Vendetta one more time, I do want to point out that's with you talking about how V is definitely more of a selfish person in it for himself, like we talked about. That's why at the end, at least in the movie, I'm not sure if this happens in the graphic novel. I, again, haven't read it. This is all just me hearing from other sources. So take it with a grain of salt.
You're wrong. Factor.
No! I was wrong on the internet. I'll never be redeemed.
Not even a joke anymore.
But that's why at the end of the movie, V... while he still kills Sutler, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he calls him the Spider. While he still kills all those people, he leaves the final decision to blow up Parliament, which is his ultimate symbol. He leaves that final decision up to Evie, which is kind of like, it's a little bit more pure in a way. However, V did kind of have a big impact on her life and shaping her life.
Yeah. He's tortured her.
Kind of manipulated her into thinking more like him.
You're a very nice
person. So it's probably a little bit more vague.
Kind of.
Vague. Yeah. It's kind of probably a little bit more vague like that in the graphic novel is my guess as well. Yeah. But there is that he realized he couldn't be the one to pull the final trigger there.
Right.
Which is kind of good.
I would like to like sometimes
said,
sometimes I imagine that he was just like, I can't make it over there, but I'm gonna play this off. Like, instead of saying, like, I'm physically incapable of doing it, I'm just gonna, this is your job now, passing the torch. But really, he's like, I can't feel my legs. Like, I can't move. I think I shit myself. I've lost most of my blood, and there's, like, a room full of men fired at me. So there was probably, like, 30, 40... Okay, one clip holds how many bullets?
It depends on the gun.
That's, so let's say 12. Let's say 12. So every single one of those person fired 12 bullets, and there was probably around 10 people. So he was hit at least 100 with 100 bullets in point blank range. I don't think any of them missed. So there's like 100 or so bullet holes on his body.
Yeah, even if some of them did miss a few shots, like he's having a bad time.
Yeah, exactly. He's not having a good time. Yeah. So he might have just played it off, and good for you, sir. Like cool to the end. You know what I mean? Like even when you shit yourself, I want to go out cool, like with a one-liner. Yeah, tell my fangirls I'm not gay.
I want to talk a little bit more about the debate. I know we talk about V for Vendetta is fun, but that's not the reason we're here. We'll pull back a little bit. We talked about this again. We touched on a lot of these subjects already, but I do want to say really quick. Both VP Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris avoided and evaded questions during this debate quite often. Kamala Harris, in particular, one of that really stood out to me that bothered me was she went on some lengthy screeds about her upbringing and her experience as a minority, and as a woman, which really didn't have anything to do with the question she was asked. And Mike Pence, like you said earlier, just straight up refused to answer some questions, to move on and answer certain questions, and he went back and talked about other questions in the debate that was already settled.
Very politely, yeah.
So any thoughts on that situation and how that could possibly be remedied, or just on that situation in general? Let's just talk about that now.
So there's a taboo in society, especially with minorities, that when they play the race card, it's like, bro, you can't. Like, here's the thing: race cards are totally good to be played, but you can't be that obvious, man. You're like ruining for the rest of us, like minorities out here. We play that card like we're finesse. Like there's rules, man. Like you gotta do it well. You do it too obvious, like people are gonna catch on to what we're doing, dude. Like they're not gonna know, oh, why is this minority when he's asking me to do something? I feel too bad to apologize. It's almost like I feel guilty for some reason just talking to him. It's like, bro, when you make it that obvious, they're gonna know, oh, they're playing the race card. And Kamala Harris really, like when she said like, growing up as a black woman, as a woman, as a black person, as a minority, I was like, bro, the question was about like, I think a policy or some stuff, or like how are you gonna fix it?
No,
like economy.
I can't remember the actual question, but it basically had nothing to do with race.
Exactly.
It was like, no, I think it was talking about what she's going to do as vice president if Biden's elected.
Yeah,
and then she talked, something along those lines, and then she just talked about that.
Yeah,
and I was just like, what?
It's like, we ain't in church, sister. Like, you don't gotta preach like that. Like, it's so preachy. It's ridiculous. Like, I was translating and I was getting goosebumps on my arms. It's like, dude, come on, man. Like, you can't do that. Nobody, like, the thing about playing the race card is gotta be dignified. And then you have to let other people say that, wow, she's doing this even though she's a woman and she's a black person. Despite all this, you can't say it. They have to say it. That's how you play the race card.
I wouldn't even go that far. I'd say that even like talking about that and talking about yourself in that way is honestly kind of fine if it's about that topic. If you're talking about yourself, if you're explaining about your life, then hey, being a minority and a woman in the U.S., there's probably shit to talk about, and that probably affected your upbringing. However, when asked, hey, how are you going to handle things as vice president if Biden's elected? You don't answer with, well, I was born and raised a poor black child. Like, you don't go full Steve Martin. It doesn't work like that.
Like, here's the thing. Even if she said that, there is a way to twist that around. Like, I could imagine her being, well, I grew up poor. I grew up in the neighborhood. So I know what the poor people feel, and I know exactly how they are. So my job as a vice president is I'm going to help those. No, but she name dropped, like, her own, like, her own, like, struggle. It's like, I'm a woman. Yeah. I'm black. And then let's talk about something else. And I was like...
And that's why you should vote for me.
And that's why you should vote for me, because I'm black and I'm a woman. Like, you're not even wrong. Like, that's what she said. Like, pretty much. Like, in so many words.
And the shitty part about that is that shit like that's going to work. In the same way that Pence talking about his religion and saying... and talking about how people on his side with super religious beliefs affecting his policies is not a problem. It's the same... It's the same side of... It's I'm not going to say that's the same issue. Yeah. I'm not going to say that it's the same issue. I don't even want to go that far because it's really not. They're very different issues, but it's the same kind of situation.
Right.
It's the same kind of thing of just like, this is not what should matter. Yeah. This is not what it should matter, and this is not the issue that we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Your background... Your background, your circumstantial evidence of birth, as in your race, gender, sexual orientation, whatever, should not matter for anything like this. But it works because I know that because when Hillary was the primary in the last election, I definitely heard people say, trying to talk to my dad, who's super conservative, and say, hey, why aren't you voting for Hillary? And he would say, like, list all these fucking reasons. And then they would basically respond, but she's a woman. I'm like, no, that's not a good reason. That's a terrible reason to vote for somebody. You shouldn't vote for somebody because of what's in between their legs or what skin color they are. That's a terrible reason to do anything.
In a perfect world on paper, like, that is completely correct. But, like, in the real world, I feel like that's a more valid reason than anything we have right now. Like, I'd rather have, like...
It's as good a reason as any right now,
Exactly. If Biden was a chick, if Biden was, like, this old granny, I would probably, like, support him a lot more now. Because while they're both douche-turds, one of them can make history. And I'd rather open the path for, like, future generations to have, like, a good person on there. Like, that, I'm not even worried about now. Like, I know the next 4 years is going to be shit no matter what. It is going to be a shit show. But, like, if there's a woman on there, people will know, oh, it's okay. And maybe, like, 10 years down the line, we'll get another woman president. Like, it will be relatively easier than, like, if we didn't have one. Like, I almost say that will be the right reason. But, like, I can completely get what you mean, though. Like, it shouldn't be that reason.
I could kind of see what you mean about them, that milestone being important. Having the first black president is obviously a very big deal. Yeah. Having the first woman president would be a very big deal. However, I don't... it's probably asking too much with how much I fucking hate the government right now. But I've always been... my position has always been, it'd be cool if we had a woman president. And it'd be cool. It'd be a good milestone. That's important, and I get that. But it would be even better... Hear me out. If the woman president was also a good president. Hear me out.
Yeah.
Think that's possible with Hillary Clinton?
Whoa.
I don't think
Whoa.
yeah.
How dare you dream that big?
And that's not to say that the people who
Realistic.
beat Hillary or the people who beat out the women in the presidential race are good substitutes. That's not what I'm saying.
Yep.
What I'm saying is that we need to have a higher standard in general. And if a woman arises in that higher standard, then I'm all for it.
Right.
But that's not going to happen.
Exactly. Look at our choices now.
I hate politicians. I'm going to hate the politicians probably no matter what, regardless of whether you're a man, woman, black, white, Asian, Mexican, whatever.
Yeah, I get that completely. It's just like right now we're dealt with such a bad hand. So like earlier, before like our stream was like rudely interrupted by YouTube, like Wes said something that really stuck with me. Is that like this debate was like better than the last one, something along the lines of was more respectful, more cordial, like at least it was better than the last one. So basically what we saw last night was the second best pair of people in the country, right? The VPs are supposed to be the second best, presidents are supposed to be the best. But here we have two VP presidents who aren't that good, and they're better than the number one. They're better than their top guys, right? Like, a lot of people around the country right now are saying, like, yeah, Kamala, like, she's a little shitty, but she's better than Biden. A lot of people are saying, oh, Pence, he's sort of crappy, but yeah, he's a lot, I would take Pence over Trump. A lot of people are saying that. And, like, it sucks. It's like we're asshat backwards to the point where I would even vote for someone just because of their gender. Is because no matter what, we're going to eat a turd sandwich or we're going to have a douche shoved up our nose or something like that.
It's almost tempting just to... I kind of want to tell people just vote chaotically and just go to the ballot or mail in and just, like, shut your eyes and, like, just... mark whatever and hope that it hits something.
Hasadai, right? Yeah.
At this point, it doesn't matter. We're all going to be screwed. We don't. There's not enough time in this particular office to really affect that level of change.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's supposed to. Really, I think that was the basic idea of 4 years.
It's not. Or it's not supposed to. You're
supposed to just keep this shit.
About that. Yeah. We could do a whole episode about the three branches of government. But before we get done here, just because we don't have that much time left, I do want to ask one more question.
Fire away.
And it's the most important question about this debate.
Uh-oh.
You ready? So
give it to me. I'm ready.
Get ready. This is a big one. It's going to take a lot emotionally out of you.
Okay. All right. I'm prepared.
So that fly did not want to leave Pence's head, did it? There have been several memes about this minor incident during the debate, basically to the exclusion of anything of substance in the actual debate, which is part of the reason this conversation is frustrating me so much, because I feel like most of my Facebook feed and Twitter feed have just been flooded with memes about the fly on Pence's head instead of anything actually said in the debate. So, I want to ask, X, how do you think meme culture has affected the political discourse throughout the years? And how do you think it's going to affect it in the future if this is the level we're on right now?
Okay.
If we're memeing a fly on Pence's head more than... And that is more important and more in the public zeitgeist than talking about what he actually says and stands for.
Okay. You want to know a sad reality I just thought about just now? If you have the presidential election, you had Biden, you had Trump, you had that fly on Pence's head, and you had somebody who was actually good for our country, that fly on Pence's head would get more votes than somebody who was actually good for our country. Like, that's what I'm thinking right now, because it's so popularized. The second thing is that, like, pretty fly for a white guy, I guess, for a white-haired guy. But yeah, I think it's great because number one, like, as we said multiple times, like during this evening, like that whole thing was a shit show. The thing before that was even a shittier shit show. But at least now we have the meme culture making like sort of a laugh out of it. Like at least after that whole like just debate, after we're all emotionally drained, and you're right, it is emotionally draining. Where like we could joke about a fly, and it's also very sad that that's true. But like at least we get the fucking fly. You know, there's a parallel reality somewhere that they watched that, and the fly just like died somewhere. Like somebody like swatted it, and it never landed on Pence's head, and we're left with the debate, and there's no fly to joke about. We're just all sad as shit. But now we have a fly to talk about, and you know that fly is a hero. He doesn't get enough like appreciation, but like
he's gotten more than enough appreciation. In my opinion.
I don't know. I don't know why he was on there for so long.
Yeah.
what was his
There
hair
was
product?
some nice smelling gel or oil or whatever
Right.
on Pence's head that he was just like, I live here now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make my babies here.
He was so
Like, I only
calm.
live for 24 hours. I'm gonna spend 2 whole minutes
Right.
on this head. This is great.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think we can all learn something from that fly, you know, because, like, the fly, he's in the most important thing in the biggest powerful, like, the most powerful country in the world, in one of the most important events to ever occur, like, possibly, arguably, in, like, the recent history, right? Vice presidential debate.
Sure,
And this
sure,
fly
yeah.
is on there, like, in this stage, and he's just chilling on Pence's head. The second most powerful man, well, not really the second, like, the third, fourth, maybe, like, 10th most powerful man in the country, sitting on his head and just chilling, while, like, they're ripping each other apart for, like, just random stupid shit that's gonna decide the future of this country, right? And, like, it brings me back to the fact that we're just, like, little bits of, like, moving cells and organisms on this huge rock hurtling through space. And I think the best thing for us to do is just have a good time before we gone. Because what I realized after I have this job of watching politics is that it's too big. Like, there's no good way to run it unless we have an actual God who is kind, who is great, who is smart, who is intelligent, who is just, like, just all around a great person. I don't think we're ever gonna have great government. We're not gonna have great people in charge. It's always gonna be selfish people being in charge.
No, and
So,
and that's part of the reason why I am so anti-government. I think
right.
for the most
And I
part,
get it.
people, especially modern people, I think this gets. We've talked about this before, maybe not on the show, but privately.
Yeah.
How we think that my general opinion of people is that most people are good people, and
Yeah.
most people are not going to spit in your face. Most people are going to be polite. Most people are going to be your good neighbor.
Right.
Especially in the Western world, in the civilized world. And I don't think...
What you suggesting? Rest of the Western civilization, like, are just...
you Chinese are too savage-like for me. For me over here, my Mr. I don't know what fucking accent I'm doing.
I think that was like a blend between Southern accent and, like, Brooklyn. I don't know. It's like a British Southern
but
accent.
what I mean is, in the civilized world, I don't think the average person is going to do something unkind for me. If you if you were walking with your pregnant wife on some random street in the U.S.,
right,
and your wife went into labor, and you asked some rando off the street, "Hey, I need to use your car. My wife's going into labor. I need to drive her to the hospital."
Yeah,
I think 99.9% of people would say, absolutely, here's my car, or I'll drive you myself.
Yeah, I'll drive you myself,
yeah. And I think... So I don't really believe in organizations, and the government is the worst organization, because there's no accountability when you're the ones in charge.
Right.
That goes for crony capitalism, too. Crony capitalism. I said crony capitalism. Coney Island capitalism.
Crony capitalism. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, though, while I agree with everything you said, government is also very much necessary. Like, without government, I don't think we would be at the stage.
I'm not anti... I'm not anarchist.
Yeah. I get
I don't want to... Yeah. But I think that I think government should be a referee, not a parent.
Exactly.
And I think right now, the government is too much of a parent. And it's kind of funny because the Democrats are very much like, hey, we need this big government. We need the government to solve all of our problems.
Yeah.
And then when someone gets elected that they don't like, it's like, oh shit, this guy has all this power. What have we done? But they don't take any responsibility for it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened with Trump.
It's hypocrisy.
So I think you reap what you sow, and Trump's what we've sown. So
exactly. Like, honestly, if I were to, like, give a message to everybody, is that just stop watching all this shit. Like, stop caring about it. Honestly, whoever's on top is gonna have, like, mild effects on your life, if any at all. Just, like, be happy every day, like, celebrate with your loved ones, like, watch shows, laugh your ass off, like, go look at something stupid, and just, like, enjoy life. Because when you look at the government, all you see is a bunch of opportunists trying to claw each other's throats out while lying to your face. And there's no other way to describe it. We're not gonna have a perfect government. We're not gonna have a perfect future. No. But the government is necessary, and it's gonna be there. It's not gonna go away. So just be okay with it. You know, be just okay, whatever. Fuck you. And if you wanna go for, like, an election, like, I almost would say don't, like, because it'll change you. Because for you to do what you need to do to win, you can't be the same person as you started out. You can't be optimistic. You can't be like idealist. You have to be very realistic. You have to be manipulative, and you have to destroy some part of yourself. Because One thing that I'll say is that one thing that I'll like finish up with is that while the individual, like you said, is very nice, mobs are stupid. Mobs do not have conscience. Mobs do not have any thought or logic. They follow the emotions, and they're stupid, and they're angry, and they're rageful. Individuals, like on the street, yeah, they'll take your wife to the hospital. If there's a crowd of people and you ask them, they're less likely to like help you out because nobody else is coming out to like help them. So mobs are stupid, and if you try to run for office, you're at the mercy of a mob. You depend on the mob to vote for you, so you need to cater to the mob, and that's what changes you as a person. Unfortunately, it's a realistic situation.
And I want to talk about. I want to. This is a little off topic, but it has to do with politics. I want to say it. Yeah. As much as I don't quite agree with the situation, I have to have my admiration for Colin Kaepernick because he is basically living his best possible life. He had all of the money and fame and professional success that he could have possibly had.
Right.
And he still knelt during the national anthem because he believed in that.
Right.
And I think that is something to be very much admired.
Exactly. He stuck to his
whether you agree with it, whether you agree with it or not, he did that because he realized he was in a position that had something of a voice, and he felt the need to express his belief. And that is something that you're not going to see very much in a mob mentality, like you said. And that's that. But he did it anyway.
It took balls.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, I
history remembers people with balls.
Like, regardless of how you feel about that, I think that's a very admirable thing.
Right.
And it's not like he was really hurting anybody by doing it. It was a symbolic. It was a symbolic gesture. He wasn't actually setting anything on fire or shooting anybody in the face or raping anybody. He was just making a statement.
Right.
And I think that's I think what he did is like the way you get shit done.
Yeah.
It's you can wave your fist in the air as much as you want and scream as much as you want as long as you don't hit anybody with your fist.
Right. Exactly.
And I think that's kind of the point, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
He didn't hit anybody.
Right.
He expressed his opinion.
Well, he did cause some damage, and let me clarify this: is that he hurt a lot of people's butt because the butt hurt in the country when he knelt down at a football game was so high.
my favorite meme of that whole situation was a fucking SpongeBob meme with the hall monitor episode, and it was just Patrick looking across the street at Colin Kaepernick like kneeling, and it was just him saying, "He's just kneeling there, menacingly."
You have a fantastic Patrick Star impression, by the way, my friend. You also do a very... Let me give everybody a treat right now. do you know the Muffin Man? Can I hear that from you one time?
I ain't no monkey. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yes, you are, and you will do it.
Yes, master, I'll do it.
So, do you know the Muffin Man?
Okay, I'll tell you. Do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
I think I know the Muffin Man.
Well, she's married to the Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man!
Oh, my headphones fell off. Hang on, give me a second. That was too good. That was too good. You see, we just now had the similar effect of that fly on Pence's head. Like, a little bit of joy on the end of this, like, really shitty, just situation.
I do remember a point, actually, a couple of years ago, back when my little sister was in high school.
Yeah.
She had to do a project, and for some reason, she wanted to use that clip. The clip of Gigi being interrogated by Farquaad.
Yeah.
But she wanted to have him say different stuff.
Yeah.
And so she actually asked me to dub in new words using his voice. And it worked pretty well. I don't know if she still has the video. I'll have to find out. It might actually be on my computer. But
yeah,
it's it was pretty interesting. It was something about like history. It was like just so she could like spout some fact. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah,
it was. I was very flattered that she thought my voice was that good.
Yeah, don't be. It really is. It really is. Like for Patrick Star, you're like Muffin Man. I think you had another one. I forgot who, but like was very on point. Yeah. We should do like some kind of like talent show, like clip show on this show. Like of just like Wax Studio or just you doing like voices.
Anyway, so that's all the questions I have, and we're coming up on an hour plus the time that we had when we weren't doing so hot at the beginning there. So
yeah,
we should probably wrap this up. I guess X, since you've kind of I mean, I know I asked the questions, but you kind of effectively become the host. But do you have anything to say? To kind of close us out, other than I have a good Gigi impression.
No, I don't think anything can beat your Gigi impression or your Patrick Star impression, but I'll give it a try anyways. Okay. So basically, the presidential debate, like next week, whether or not it's gonna go on, like will be decided. But what I suggest to people, if it does happen, is just grab a popcorn, sit back, try to enjoy it, and just calmly watch this country run itself into shit, and make sure to save up enough money so when the ship does go down, you have a lifeboat for yourself, right? And just try to be upbeat about it. And that's my number one thing, because if you care about politics, you're gonna have a bad time. And yes, just keep lighthearted. And we here at like Or Exposure, we're trying to make light of the situation as well. I think in this shitty time, what we need more than anything is laughter and optimism, and that's what we're trying to provide to you guys. And I think, Wes, with your impressions, you have done more than that. You've done great. You're just like the fly in Pence's head. And you're sorry, you did very good. I think that's awesome. So thanks everyone for watching this. And Wes, like you are the host. I just kind of started off as we continued, but Wes, you're definitely hosting that whole thing. So sign us off, my friend.
I will add to your little thing just by saying get out and vote, and probably buy some guns and learn how to use them effectively and safely, please.
Okay.
The second part. Yeah. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon, and thanks for watching Oral Exposure. Bye, everybody.
We'll see you guys next time. Oh god, that's so great. All right, bye everybody.